he spent a lot of time in his career helping brands to get stronger customer relationships. And with Owned By, he's able to combine this experience he has about customer relationships and customer engagement, and can combine this with his passion for technology, especially for Web3 technology. Here on stage, Mitul Jain. Herzlich willkommen. Welcome. We stay curious.
That's what I'm doing. Take it. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. And thank you especially for the organizers of W3 Vision. It's been a great event so far. So I'm really excited for all of the opportunities we've had to talk and see new innovations. I was already introduced, but briefly to myself, Mitul Jain. I'm the founder of Refive and our new Web3 product, Owned. And we've spent the last years basically helping retailers engage with customers way better in-store, where a lot of the transactions happen. And I'd today like to talk to you a little bit about how customer engagement is evolving and how Web3 might provide the tools that are required to change and adapt to these changes that are happening in brand and customer relationships. But before I start, just to understand with a show of hands, I'd like to know how many in the audience are Web3 natives and how many are normal people. So if you're a Web3 person, please put your hands up. Okay, awesome. So it seems like there's a lot of normal people here today. That's exciting. I'll try my best to keep it as non-geeky as possible. But if there's something that's not clear, come up to me afterwards. So in order to set the context, I'd like to illustrate what my understanding of customer engagement is with a bit of a story from my childhood. So growing up in India, in Bombay, I used to visit this bookstore. It's one of my favorite memories, and the first brand that I actually ever felt connected to was this bookstore called Strand Bookstore. And I remember going there often, and every time the owner, TN, who you see on this picture, would be there, he'd offer me new books based on what he knew I liked. He'd introduce customers to each other with similar interests, bring them together, exchange, ask them to exchange books with each other, lend to each other. And it was such a special experience that I, every single time, look forward to going back there. And in essence, for me, that's what customer engagement is about. It's about making the customer feel special. It's about making them feel a part of a community. And rather than just being a customer, being a part of an experience. Now, if we look at the history of customer engagement and how it's evolved through the years, Customer Engagement 1.0 was kind of this real personal interaction thing. People were loyal or connected to the brands and stores in their neighborhood, the ones that they interacted with on a daily basis, and they built a personal connection. Now, obviously, this is hard to do at scale. So Customer Engagement 2.0, as we like to think of it, came into being. And that became a lot about loyalty and rewarding customers for engaging with you in some way. And interestingly, the first ever loyalty program was actually a token. It was a copper token issued by a store in New York where you went shopping, and with every purchase, you got a little copper token that you could then bring back when you collected a few and get free products at the store. And so in a way, as we call it in the Web3 world, that was the first ever token drop. And over the years, as technology evolved, the medium evolved. So we went from, copper tokens to plastic cards to mobile apps. But the paradigm remained unchanged. Customers were being rewarded for buying something. They were being given points. And instead of being copper tokens, these became entries in a database, right? But what did change in all this time is actually the customer behavior. That's what's been evolving. So customers started as just being visitors. They went from customers to loyal customers, and lately to influencers. And now customers are changing even more in their behavior, and they want to be collaborators. So rather than just being rewarded for their loyalty, they want to be part of the experience. They want to be part of the ownership of the experience. And this is both an opportunity and a challenge. It's a challenge because current capabilities, current strategies don't take this behavior into account. Most of the time, customer engagement is still about, buy something from me, I'll give you something for that. And it's an opportunity at the same time because it gives us ways to build customer relationships that are much stronger, much more longer lasting, and by giving customers a piece of ownership in what we're providing them, much more sustainable as well. And as brands move into this third generation of customer engagement, there's the question of, well, how do we serve these customers? How do we fulfill these needs? And we believe that Web3 is the answer to that, not simply by existing, not simply by being technology, but by providing a range of strategies and tools that make it possible to create this collaborative relationship with customers that's much more sustainable than everything we've done before. And what I'd like to do now is illustrate that a bit by also explaining a few of these technologies and a few of these capabilities to understand what we can make possible with Web3 when it comes to customer engagement. So one of the central tenets of the Web3 space is decentralized ownership. If you contrast this to how we've done engagement and loyalty in the past, everything is being centralized. When you go shopping today and you collect your payback points, at least here in Germany, you don't own those points. You actually don't even own the data that's been generated through that transaction. That data is owned by Payback. It's stored centrally. Your points are stored centrally. You can't trade them. You can't exchange them. You basically can't do anything except do what the program wants you to do, which is go in, convert those points into some kind of, in my opinion, often useless products, right? And you also have the challenge then that what happens when these brands disappear, when these programs disappear. Air Berlin is a great example. Millions of people collected thousands of points flying with them regularly. And then one day the airline disappeared, and so did all those points, and so did all that value. Now, if we contrast that to how things work in the Web3 space, the Bored Ape Yacht Club is one of the most famous brands that's been built in the Web3 space. And in that space, customers who own a token of the Bored Ape Yacht Club not only own the IP of the image in that token, they also own the rights to use that in any way they choose to. So there have been people who've gone out and made Bored Ape branded beers that use their token as a logo. There's an entire chain of burger restaurants in the US that's branded by one of the owners of a Bored Ape. And for me, the most interesting example, a few Bored Ape owners got together, produced a book written by a best-selling author, and are now selling that as a token. They get the royalties for that. And in all of this, the Bored Ape Yacht Club also obviously benefits by getting royalties from all of these transactions. So this is for me an example of how by decentralizing ownership and actually giving ownership to people of the way we interact with them, we create a whole new range of opportunities, both for the brand, but also for the customers. My clicker doesn't click. Oh, it clicks again. All right. Another beautiful aspect about the Web3 space, and especially about tokens, which are the vehicle of engagement in the Web3 space, is programmability. Every token can be assigned some sort of utility, some sort of value, and customers can use that to engage with the brand and access that value in different ways. So one of my favorite examples that's still in formation, but is really exciting to see happening, is Starbucks' new loyalty program called Odyssey, which basically is based on Web3 technologies and NFTs and allows customers to earn tokens for completing different interactions and experiences. So you can get a token for having 3 cappuccinos. You can get a different token for visiting a number of stores in a certain area, and so on and so forth. And the beauty of this is each of those tokens comes with different perks and different capabilities that can also be combined and merged to create new tokens, create new ways to engage with the brand, including, for example, flying on a trip to their farm in Costa Rica where they grow the beans and actually experiencing that live there. And the other nice thing about this is these tokens can be traded. So as a customer, if I've gotten a token, if I've gotten some value from this, but it's not something I'm interested in, I'm not just stuck with that. I can sell that to someone else who's interested in that experience, who's interested in that perk, and they can benefit from that. Another example, since we spoke about how the Air Berlin story went down, Etihad has launched a new version or a new layer on top of their miles program, where as a customer, of course, you collect miles for flying, but your status is encoded in an NFT, which means that when you reach a silver status, you get a silver status NFT. As a customer, I can actually choose directly to buy one. So I might be flying the first time with Etihad, but I want the perks that having silver status affords me, whether that's lounge access, that's a better seating choice, that's a better meal on the flight. I might want to get that right away. And on the other hand, there might be customers who are simply interested in collecting miles. They're not interested in the lounge. And even though they might be frequent flyers, they have the opportunity to now sell that status to someone else who's more interested in that. So you're giving ownership, you're programming those capabilities into those tokens. And what you're doing through that is really, for the first time, accessing the holy grail of customer engagement, which is personalization. So if you think of how most engagement has worked so far, it's one-to-many. A brand decides how their loyalty program works, how they want to engage with customers. That's defined, that's set in stone, and everyone has the exact same experience. It's one size fits all. And honestly, for most customers, it starts to get boring. What the tools of Web3 allow you to do is take that experience and personalize it. So I could get a token based on the fact that I like blue jeans that gives me access to perks for blue jeans with Levi's, and someone else could get the same thing for jackets or sweaters or whatever else. The idea is that every customer wants to be spoken to in a personalized way, just like that bookkeeper used to speak to me when I was growing up. And Web3 finally makes that possible, but at scale. If we think of retail specifically, which is where we focus a lot of our attention on, there's a very strong element of a phygital interaction, as it's called nowadays. 80% of purchases happen offline. Even though e-commerce has been booming, customers still love going into store because it's about that experience. And Web3 provides tools that are uniquely suited for that kind of an interaction. You can provide customers with POAPs just for coming into a store, maybe talking to one of your customer representatives or salespeople. Even if they don't buy something that day, they leave with something that gives them a memory, gives them a reason to maybe come back. And as they collect those tokens, as they become loyal customers, unlock access to them, again, via tokens and token gating, to specialized events, to drops, to special events with celebrities, to exclusive shopping hours, and so on and so forth, all of which are then accessed again using tokens. Another aspect in the phygital realm is the fact that people are buying physical products, and it's very hard to engage with them digitally in that interaction. One of my favorite examples is Wrangler, which brought out a range of denim jackets and jeans that came fitted with NFC chips that customers can interact with and actually collect an NFT token that again gives them access to certain perks, rewards, and events. So you're bringing the physical purchase into the digital world and giving customers new ways to engage with the brand. On the other hand, Adidas, which done one of the most successful NFT drops so far, actually gave owners of those NFTs the chance to mint a physical product and get a hoodie shipped to them using their token. So that's sort of closing the loop and bringing, again, the digital interaction into the physical world. And it's not just about, creating value for the customers and new ways of engagement. What a lot of brands are now starting to wake up to is the fact that there's a huge revenue opportunity hidden in there. So on the one hand, through the sale of digital twins of physical products that customers can use in the metaverse, that customers can show off in their online channels, a lot of brands are making a lot of revenues through that. But then the second element is really around reselling. Because tokens can be programmed, they can be set up in a way that when someone sells their token to someone else, the brand that issued it can get a royalty in the process. And so, some of my favorite examples are brands like Nike, D&G, and Tiffany that have actually done really well in this space and generated millions of additional business value just simply by issuing tokens of their products and engaging with their customers using these new tools and capabilities. So by now, it sounds like this is amazing. There's a huge opportunity. We're all going to make money. It's great. But I'm going to actually, block myself and say, unfortunately, it's not that straightforward. Maybe you're all convinced and you want to do something in this space, but there's a lot of challenges. The way it stands today, most people are not able to engage with Web3 technologies and tools that easily. It takes 19 steps for the average person to buy an NFT. And as someone who's been in this space for a long time, I can tell you, it's still a scary and frustrating experience. And what that leads to is the fact that people engaging are the 0.001% of people who are familiar with crypto, NFTs, and so on and so forth. And you see that also in the data of mints that are being done by these big brands. So we need to fix that problem. And the second problem is, even for brands themselves, this isn't straightforward. If you're a large business, you're trying to do something in the space, the barriers to entry are still pretty high. It's expensive and complicated to run these programs. The tooling is primitive. Creating a smart contract, issuing tokens is basically at the stage of dial-up internet today, or equivalent to sending an email using SMTP instead of sort of a Google or Outlook interface. So we try to fix a lot of that, but I think I'm running out of time. So what I'd like to leave you with is the thought that there are ways that are existent to make this now accessible, to make it easier. And we provide a lot of these capabilities through our platform. Before I completely run out of time, what I want to do today is give you a chance to just experience it without talking more about the theory, and go ahead and actually mint your first NFT without requiring any wallet or any understanding of Web3. So go ahead and scan that QR code with this phone, and you can mint a first socks NFT. And those of you who do it, we'll actually ship you a physical pair of socks too as well. I'm happy to tell you more about how we solve this problem. Please come visit us at the stand and we can dive into the details on that. But that's been my time. Thank you for being a great audience, and thank you for being here today, and have a lovely afternoon.